So this morning's project, we're going to replace a dishwasher. We've actually have a new dishwasher that was installed just before we purchased the house. Unfortunately, it's a rather bottom-of-the-line Frigidaire from Lowe's, and we have a nice BOSCH unit that we're going to put in its place. And in dishwashers, there's really not much to them. You've got a water line, a drain line, and electrical. Always want to make sure your breaker's off first, and then it's just the three little connections and away you go. So get some stuff prepped up here and then start on the project. So here we are at the front of the dishwasher. The electrical connections are right here in the front, which makes it nice and easy to disconnect the power before pulling it out. You can open up this front panel here real quickly with a screwdriver and get to the electrical panel where everything is underneath. So here's the electrical panel, a little box here, and in this case I had to open the dishwasher door to let that pivot down enough so I could get to the panel properly. There is generally a single screw holding that panel on. You always want to make sure that the power is removed. By code, you should have a single breaker powering the dishwasher. It should have its own breaker. A lot of people will tie them into other things, but by code you really should have a separate breaker for it, and that'll let you flick the breaker off and know you've killed the power to it. Even once you have the power off, you want to check it before actually touching any wires or removing anything. So here I'm trying to find the screw to remove that and get a screwdriver in there. It's kind of hard to see. It's up in the dark there at an odd angle. But I eventually discovered that it's actually a Torx bit, and I need to go get a separate screwdriver to get to that Torx bit to pull that out. Need to shine a little light on the matter there, and then we can go and get the right part. Okay, I'm back with a better screwdriver. So I've got the panel off here, and the first thing you want to do is get out a little trouble meter and double check and make sure there's no power there, confirm that, and then we can pull the caps off. Disconnecting the ground here. You've got the ground line, you've got your black hot and the white neutral. The hot's going to be your 120 volt. The neutral should be grounded back at the panel, back at the electrical panel itself. I always like to make sure that I treat these wires as if they're hot at all times, so I'm putting the caps back on when I'm not working with them directly, and never touching both of them at the same time. One major thing to note that's missing here is a 3/8 inch electrical clamp, which should be going through that hole there, where the wires go through. That will wear over time and eventually cut through the wires with it, just vibration, so you got to have that clamp in there. Here I'm disconnecting the water supply lines. I stuck a bowl under it just to catch any water that may leak out of it. Of course, you want to make sure that your water is shut off first. Very important step. Otherwise, you're going to get really wet when you break that seal. So we're pulling that off, draining what little bit of water is out of it. And then we've got the water connection broken free, and we can move on to the next step, which is disconnecting the drain line. So here we are just disconnecting the drain hose, and there's actually a split here in the middle, which makes it kind of nice in this particular instance, and I just need to use a pair of channel locks to split those spring clips apart. There's little clips there, and then I can drain what's left in that drain hose into my little bowl and then dump that out. So I've got water in both lines. Drain those out before you end up letting them run all over the floor. There will of course be some leakage, but get as much as you can before you have that going across your floor. And then it's just a matter of connecting up the new dishwasher in its place. So I've got the electrical disconnected, the water disconnected, and I just finished disconnecting the drain line. Okay, so we're back from the store, and I have got a 3/8" straight coupler. And we can take off this piece, don't need it. We only need this piece. And I'm going to use that to replace what the dishwasher had, which was the straight corrugated tubing. Going to pull off the old right angle and then go in with my coupler. The new dishwasher has a straight tube out of it, already pre-connected, and we're just going to connect them together like that. Now the drain is going to be a little trickier. The tube's coming out from the existing drain, which should be able to go into the bottom of my dishwasher. And this one already has a tube on it. So in connecting this drain, I've got to run the existing hose into the new dishwasher. Now this is a really nicer BOSCH unit. This one comes actually up close to $1,000. It was a really nice unit that we bought for our old house, and we're putting it into the new house. But I've got to adapt that up, so I had to buy some couplers over to the hardware store, get something that would work to go from that hose into the back of the dishwasher. And I bought a couple options just to make sure I had the right size and I didn't want to make a trip back. And between the two of them, one of them is going to work. And we just need to loosen up the hose clamps. I do have to do some trimming on the rubber part of the hose, so we'll cut a little bit of that off. They generally come in stages, smaller to smaller to smaller, and you just need to cut them off until you get the right size that will fit inside the hose that you have. It's kind of like a universal size type thing. So I'm trimming this down and then getting that to fit, and then we can connect that up and then connect the hose up. Once that's all together, then we have a good working solid drain. And here we are at the front of the dishwasher, connecting up the last piece, which is the electrical connection. And as you can immediately see, this is a much nicer dishwasher. We've got the terminals instead of twist-on, so we can pull these twisty wire connectors off, and then we're going to put it through the electrical grommet. I'm double checking again to make sure my power's still off before I stick it through the metal connection there. We've got the electrical connection here, the crimp connection. So we can put the wires through, and then we can tighten that down so that the wires are firmly held in place. I'll pull that right off. I'm going to stick the wires through outside so that I can tighten those crimps down, that clamp down. So with the clamp tight, I can put my little panel box back, screw that back on, connect the wires up to the terminals. Everything's all hardwired in this dishwasher. Much nicer to work with. They're all labeled. You've got your load, which is again the black line, that's your hot line, your neutral, and then the ground. The ground's always your copper and bare wire. And once those connections are done, you can put the cover plate back on and power it up, give it a test. But that's the last stage of it.